Welcome to our live housing Q&A session. My name is Molly. I'm a housing paralegal with Texas RioGrande Legal Aid in our San Antonio office. Today, we're going to be answering your questions on tenants' rights in regards to evictions and the recent CDC order. But for the first 30 minutes, we're going to be speaking in English, and then at 6:30 in Espanol.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Ileana Riojas, yo soy la coordinadora del proyecto en derechos de vivienda y comunidad en nuestras oficinas de Texas RioGrande Legal Aid aquí en San Antonio. Este segmento al principio va a iniciar ahorita en inglés y en media hora se transmitirá en español. Así que se puede quedar conectado o únase de nuevo con nosotros en 30 minutos. Gracias.
Gracias, Ileana. And joining us today is Lisbeth Bada-Davila, one of our housing attorneys at TRLA, to answer our Q&A session in English and Spanish. How are you doing this evening, Lisbeth?
Great. Thank you for having me, Molly.
Oh, wonderful. Glad you're here. So how do you get your burning questions to our attorney, Lisbeth Bada-Davila, who's here with us? All you have to do is send in your questions to rtc@trla.org, and we'll answer them back for you. But just remember, do not send in any questions. Oh, I thought we were going to do this. Please remember, do not send in any questions in relating to your personal legal issue. So, as many of you know, due to the pandemic, there are many tenants dealing with rent hardship due to income loss or medical reasons, which brings us to these frequently asked questions. For example, can I get evicted during the COVID-19 pandemic?
So recently, Molly, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, issued an order that temporarily pauses evictions for certain tenants until after December 31st, 2020. Additionally, some cities and counties have stopped certain evictions from going forward, so you should check with them to find out what protections are available to you locally.
I see. And so what does the CDC order really do?
So the order temporarily pauses evictions for non-payment of rent cases for eligible tenants who provide a declaration to their landlord. This order does not cancel or forgive rent. It also does not prohibit landlords from charging late fees or other charges that are authorized in the lease. But until December 31st, 2020, evictions will be paused for non-payment of rent cases.
I see. Okay. So is everybody protected? I mean, who actually is protected under this order? Or is just like everyone protected under this order?
So to be protected, you must be an eligible tenant who submits a declaration to your landlord. And we have a copy of the declaration posted up here on our PowerPoint. You'll see what we have. We have a template of this with instructions in our website, trla.org/cdc-eviction-order. To be an eligible tenant, you must be someone who, first of all, is a tenant. Second of all, is struggling to pay rent due to loss of income, loss of work hours, or due to high medical costs. You also have to be someone who does not expect to earn more than $99,000 for the year 2020, or if you're filing a joint tax return, $198,000. You also have had to have used your best efforts to apply for government assistance. For example, applying for a local housing assistance program, applying for unemployment, seeking any assistance. You also have to have used your best efforts to pay for rent. So if you have the ability to make a payment, you have to have done that. And you're also, to be eligible, have to declare that you would be homeless or forced to move into a shelter or with other people if you were to be evicted. Once you qualify under all of these, you can sign a declaration, the one shown on the screen, and then submit a copy of that to your landlord. And that is how you become a protected tenant under the CDC order.
Oh, okay. Darn. So you still have to try to pay your rent. Okay. So in order to be protected though, I mean, does a tenant actually have to take any action, or is this just automatic? Because the government said it, so it's just automatic, right? Or does a tenant have to actually do something?
Yes, so the tenant does have to actually do something. They have to submit a copy of the declaration to their landlord, and this can be delivered in person, by mail, by email, or even through text message. Like I mentioned earlier, you can find a copy of this declaration in our website. You can also visit a local court to request a copy. Make sure to keep a copy of the declaration that you submit to your landlord. And you can do this by taking a picture of you hand delivering it, or a video, or keeping, if you send through certified mail, a copy of the return receipt. It's important to note, though, that when you sign a declaration, you are declaring under penalty of perjury that everything is correct. And if you sign when you know part of it is not true, you could be subject to severe criminal penalties, including fines and jail time. For non-citizens, these criminal penalties could have serious immigration consequences. So make sure to be somebody who is eligible before you sign it.
Okay, so I gotta be real careful, or a person has to be really, really careful before they actually sign it and turn it in. Okay, I get it. So what if, in some cases, what if a landlord has already filed an eviction case in court? Can you still use it?
So if your landlord has already filed an eviction case against you in court and you have given your tenant declaration to your landlord, the court is required to pause your case until after December 31st, 2020. To have your case paused, you must file a copy of the declaration with the court. We also have a form template that you can submit to the court, notifying them that you have indeed given a copy to your landlord. That template is also in our website. Your eviction citation must also contain a copy of the declaration. Recently, the Texas Supreme Court order requires that all eviction citations received after September 23rd, I believe, must come with a copy of the declaration. The court can only proceed with eviction if the landlord contests your tenant declaration, meaning that they disagree with it. The court will have to set a hearing and issue a written order stating the reasons for why they decide to proceed. If a hearing is set, you should prepare to explain and provide evidence of all the requirements set in your declaration, and to bring a copy in case your landlord says they did not receive one.
Okay. So they can contest it. Okay, got it. Okay. So, but what if, are there, like the CARES Act property, are there any protections that landlords must follow about the CARES Act covered properties?
Yes. So even though the CARES Act moratorium pausing evictions and saying that no notices to vacate could be issued has already expired, landlords are still required to provide 30-day notices to vacate to tenants who live in CARES Act covered properties. We actually have a map on our website as well that you can visit to check out and see whether or not you are a tenant who lives in a CARES Act covered property. Of course, you should always continue to do your research, and you can even ask your landlord just in case your property doesn't show up on our map. That doesn't exactly mean that you are not covered. Landlords are also still required to provide CARES Act affidavits when they submit a petition. So there they will be also declaring under penalty of perjury whether or not you live in a CARES Act covered property. And just for the website link, it's Texas, TX, CARES, CARES, Act, ACT.org.
Okay, got it. Okay, and but you know what? What happens when, like, if somebody gives a CDC declaration to the landlord, but the landlord tells a judge and he says, he makes a claim that he did not receive the tenant declaration or even refuses to accept it? What do I do? I mean, what does a person like that do?
So this is why it's important to keep copies and to take pictures or video or some evidence of you submitting the declaration. You can also still provide a copy to your landlord at a court proceeding or afterwards. If you're still having trouble, you can reach out to us and apply for our services. We are Texas RioGrande Legal Aid, and our intake line is 888-988-9996. Or if you're a resident of San Antonio, you can email us at rtc@trla.org.
Well, you know, I'm getting a lot of questions where people are asking, can they record? You know how a lot of people are on their cell phones and they record when like bad cops are acting like bad cops or something? Well, can they do the same thing? Can they record? Can they get their friend to record them giving the CDC to the landlord? Can they do that too?
Absolutely. You can absolutely take a video recording of you submitting the declaration to the person you pay rent, to your manager's office, or even you sending it out by mail.
Got it. Okay, awesome. And then what if the landlord, yeah, you answered that question. How about, does the landlord actually have to sign the CDC declaration as well?
No, so your landlord does not have to sign the CDC declaration. Only you have to sign it, and you just have to submit it to your landlord. So it's better to get a date stamped signed copy just to prove that they received it. But if that's not possible, that doesn't have to, that's not the only way that they can receive it. You can just hand it to them, take a picture of you handing it to them or a video, and that's sufficient. There's no need to sign there's no need for your landlord to sign.
Okay, I knew it. Okay. So I think you said it earlier, but I just want to make sure. Does a person still need to pay rent, or does it like let me not pay rent anymore?
Yes, so the CDC order does not forgive rent, and if you provided a tenant declaration to your landlord, you signed under penalty of perjury that you would be making your best efforts to pay as much rent as you could. Also, if you're in court proceedings, you may end up with a larger judgment if no attempt to pay rent is made. So please pay your rent.
So it's not rent forgiveness, like I hear a lot of the news people say.
No, unfortunately, it's not.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so can a person still be evicted for something other than non-payment of rent?
Yes, if you stay beyond the end of your lease, engage in criminal conduct, or breach your lease, your landlord can still evict you. Read your lease to find out what is a lease violation.
Okay, so people that stay beyond the end of the lease and engage in criminal conduct or do some kind of breach violation, then they can still get evicted. Okay. And how does a person know if they're being evicted?
So you must get a written notice to vacate before the landlord can file a suit to evict you. This notice to vacate gives you at least 3 days, unless your lease allows for less time, to leave your residence. If you don't leave by that time, then your landlord can file a suit in a justice of the peace court. You'll know that a lawsuit has been filed against you because you'll receive an eviction citation from a constable setting a hearing and date and place of where that hearing will be on your eviction case. At the eviction proceeding in a justice court, if you are found to owe rent and lose your case, which right now it should be reset because of the CDC moratorium if you've submitted a tenant declaration, then, but if you end up getting a judgment order against you, then you have the option to appeal your case. And if you don't appeal your case, then a writ of possession could be issued or ordered against you. Even before that, though, again, if you're in a non-payment of rent case and you've provided a copy of your declaration and submitted that to the court, then you could always raise that and have your case reset. If your case has already had a judgment against you, you can still submit a copy of the declaration to your landlord and just show the constable that you've submitted a copy of the declaration. You should also still file it with the court.
I see. Okay. So it's a process. It's not just because you get a paper that says notice to vacate. There's an actual process that the landlord has to go through and to get rid of a person. Okay, it's an actual eviction process. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. For more information on the eviction process, you can also visit our website, trla.org. We actually have a video that goes through the process, as well as we have some sample templates and forms that you can use to submit to the court in case you like to appeal your case.
Okay. Now I understand. Okay, so just to summarize everything that you just answered, all these frequently asked questions that people are always asking all the time, just to summarize, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood you. But the CDC on payment of rent evictions. And for certain tenants that meet the eligibility criteria, certain tenants, not all tenants, that meet the eligibility criteria under this order. And then to be protected, the tenant must take action by providing a signed tenant declaration to their landlord or property owner or landlord representative like the property manager or something. And then also it's very important to keep copies of the declaration provided to the landlord as well. Or you're doing it or do something. And if your eviction is in court proceedings, and as long as a writ has not been issued by the constable's office, you can still provide a tenant declaration to your landlord, but also submit a notice to court with a copy of the tenant declaration. And what were those two other points that you said? You said this order does not forgive rents, so tenants should make the best efforts to pay as much as they can, even if they can't pay the whole thing. But it's not rental forgiveness. They just have to pay as much as they can. And what was that last one? Oh, the court can only proceed with eviction if the landlord contests the tenant declaration, but the court must also provide a hearing date and the judge issues a written order stating the reasons and how to proceed, right?
Yes, that's correct. And also,
Awesome.
I think even if a writ of possession has been issued, still make sure to submit a copy of the declaration to your landlord in the court. And if you have any issues, apply for our services.
Okay, got it. At trla.org, rtc@trla.org. Got it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the floor to some questions. But some additional questions that we see. For example, one person had just put in the chat, what happens if the landlord refuses to accept the declaration?
Yeah, so like I explained earlier, this is why it's important to keep copies and to take either a video or a picture of you submitting it. But if they refuse to accept, you can always show the court and provide your testimony if you are in a court that they've refused. And if you're not in the court stage, and even if you are, you can apply for our services so that we can assist you.
Okay. And another person here had sent in a question as well. You were talking about the landlords and how they have to follow rules and regulations and things. Well, this person is asking, what are the penalties or what penalties are there for landlords that don't comply with the CDC order that you were describing earlier?
Yeah, so there are penalties outlined, and one of them could be up to $100,000 fine for not complying with the order.
Wow. So I think it's in their best interest to follow the rules, huh? Okay, well, before closing our English session, I just wanted to take this opportunity to share what resources are available. Like, for example, once you keep repeating over and over again, our website, trla.org. You can find sample forms and instructions on the CDC order, as well as information on other housing issues. And to find out about what housing assistance is available in your area, all you have to do is call 211 or 311. And then, of course, if you're having some utility issues, contact your local utility service provider to get a deferred payment plan or to see if you qualify for utility assistance. And if you live in the City of San Antonio limits, you can contact Neighborhood and Housing Services Department, providing rental mortgage utilities assistance in that program, where you apply online with www.sanantonio.gov NHSD, or you can call their reps at 210-207-5910, where they stand by ready for your calls. And if you do live outside of the City of San Antonio limits, but inside Bexar County, then you can contact the Agency Housing Authority of Bexar County, called the TRAM program. And you can do it by website, which is www.aho.gov habctx.org/TRAM, or you can call them at 210-940-1180. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. We will now be transitioning to our Spanish session.